presence of your Spirit as we consider some things that we hope relate to your Spirit. Be in each of our hearts, and bless the week for each student here and for their loved ones. In Jesus' name, amen. Are you ready for the quiz? Is anybody not ready for the quiz?
I'm not ready.
Okay. There will not be a quiz today. He is worthy to be praised. But he doesn't decide if you win as a quiz. I decide that, and how you doing? Please be ready, because it will be a surprise when it happens. Okay? And I'd rather it not be a surprise when it happens. I'd rather have you experience it as a surprise when it doesn't happen. Does that make sense? That way you'll do well on the thing. How many of you have submitted questions for quizzes and tests? 3 of you have? 4 of you have already? Okay. Just the 4 of you? Okay. 2, 3, 4. All right. Well done. That doesn't mean I'm buying those questions. I just wanted to give some encouragement to do some submissions. Here's a shocker. This thing, this syllabus, this is quizzable. Okay? This whole thing is quizzable. Now, when I say it's quizzable, I don't mean that I said put everything away. Now, on the 20th class period, off the top of your head, I'd like you to give me the date that falls on, which will be May 19th. Tell me the intended topics or activities, and then tell me the scripture passages and what's from the Steps of Christ reading that's due, or whatever. Don't worry about that level of detail. It'll be about things that are policy oriented. Okay? I could ask something general about this. You know, what's the nature of the information on the course calendar? All right? In your syllabus, you have a course calendar overview, which is an Excel spreadsheet. But then, following that, you have a real detailed, one day at a time. It has the date, and it has exactly what you should read before coming to class for that day. And it has what the intended topics are. Now, when I say intended topics, we could run through the whole course, and just each day when we come together, we could handle exactly those things that are on there. Now, for some of you, that's more comfortable than to think that we would plan something and then change it. That's a temperament thing, okay? Temperament affects our values in a great way. Many of us appreciate a day that goes the way that it was planned without surprises. That's no surprise. That's a certain percentage of any population of people. That's what they prefer. Most of your courses, how you doing today? Good to see you. Most of your courses are that way. And it gives the impression, because it's usually that way, it's like past practice as a reason that it has to be that way. That's actually not true. It's just a tradition that it's that way. Because by being fair and honest, all you have to do is state you can expect flexibility. And in this course, it'll be the other half of you, personality-wise, that are uncomfortable with the way that it goes. Half of you are always uncomfortable that it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, now I already knew it, now I'm going through the process. Those people will choose careers where you have surprises every day when you go to work. Or you'll be surprised whether or not you even have to work that day. You know, you want to be an on-call perpetually because you don't want to dread, but then when it happens, it's a surprise and it's an emergency and it's all right. You handle it with adrenaline and surprise. The half of you, though, that want to be able to make a plan and stick to the plan, you will find life less comfortable than school when you finish school. The other half that have been just gritting your teeth because school is so programmed, like you're just a computer following the code that somebody wrote. When you get out of school, you're likely to find, to your relief, that life really is not that way. There's a few things that are that way. You do have to manage certain business on April 15 every year and take care of the government. Sabbath does come around once a week, and it's always the same day. But life just doesn't go that way. You make your family plan, and then things happen that change your family. You plan to have 2.13 children by the time you are 34, and you can't have kids. Or you plan never to have kids, and then one day you wake up and say, where'd I get these 3 kids? It happens. It's like finding a dime on the sidewalk. You can't say, today I'm going to find a dime on the sidewalk. Just sometimes it's there, and you either pick it up or you leave it alone. Spirituality is characterized by that same spread of expectancy or surprise. In C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia, how many of you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Chronicles of Narnia? Does anyone have no idea what C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia? So everybody knows Chronicles of Narnia. God is metaphorically portrayed, symbolically portrayed, as a lion. Okay? And the statement is made approximately that in each world, God manifests Godness, God's person, in a form that is going to be the best fit for people to understand that, first of all, that there is God, and second, that God is not your pet. The statement is made, and they could have chosen something like a rabbit. In Narnia, C.S. Lewis could have chosen a rabbit. Or if we're entering the story, we could say God could have chosen to reveal to the creatures and people in Narnia as a bunny rabbit. But you can pick up a bunny rabbit and you can dominate the bunny rabbit. That isn't the image that comes to our mind or our heart when we think of a full-grown male African lion. You don't fool with that. When that comes, first of all, you don't go, oh yeah, there's a lion. Get up in the morning and you head to the kitchen and you look in the living room and you go, what do you know? There's a lion. Now, can you find a wild animal in your house when you get up? One time, about 15 years ago, my wife, who got up much earlier than me at the time, because I was working nights and only working like 12.5-hour shifts 3 days a week as a cop, and they were nighttime shifts, so I was sleeping backwards. She got up, though, at 5 to get ready to go to teach school, and then she came back in the room and flipped the light on and said, sorry to bother you, but would you confirm whether or not I actually need a psychiatrist, and you need to take me right now? Because I shouldn't be teaching school if I'm seriously hallucinating. I said, okay. I get up, put on my robe, and I go out, and she says, is there an owl sitting on top of the china closet? And I said, yeah. There's an owl. And she said, is it alive, or is it just very realistic looking fake owl? And I said, well, it hasn't blinked. And so I walked toward it a little and went like this, and it turns its head to look at my hand, and I said, unless it's an animatronics owl, that's an owl. We get a full-on, full-size, mature, very nice-looking owl on top of the china closet. Just, did we leave a door open or anything? Not unless you close something. Everything looks like it's closed. So I'm not crazy. I should get ready for work, and you should figure out the owl. I said, yeah, here's an owl. Well, the owl apparently came down the chimney and came in the fireplace because there's no spark arrestor on the chimney because we weren't using the fireplace that year. And so the screen thing was deteriorated and all clogged up, and when I was trying to clean it, it just fell apart and had replaced it. So there's nothing there. We just had cleaned it out and had some candles in the fireplace. So the thing probably went down the chimney, and I had to open the door to the deck, a big sliding glass door, and then just wait until it was satisfied to go. The funny thing is, for the next couple of years, the owl hung around like it had some affinity for us. I have no idea why. I have no theory. We know we didn't get it and when it had a broken wing and nurse it or get it as a baby and feed it with an eye drop or anything. It just came down the Santa route and hung out. When we'd eat on the deck, most of the time it would get on a tree that was tall enough that it was as close to us where we were eating as I am to you right now. And I can't say that was our plan. I didn't have it trained to do any tricks. It wouldn't come when I called it. It came when it felt like it. And it just sat there giving us a very good feeling. In Chronicles of Narnia, Aslan came when Aslan chose to. And C.S. Lewis wrote the line and gave it to one of the Narnia characters, one of the Narnia residents, when explaining the ways of Aslan, the ways of the lion, to the children that came from Earth. The creature said, Aslan is not a tame lion. It's not a tame lion. We have a tendency to believe that we have domesticated God. And that's, besides being ridiculous, it's demeaning God, which is sort of a boring, dull, sort of, not a sharp, like a sharp pain, but more like a dull ache kind of blasphemy. It's sort of a reductive, marginalizing. You know how it feels to be treated like that by someone else? They don't come up to you and say, well, you low-life scum, you bottom-feeding piece of garbage. When they do that to you, we go, I'm okay. And then they say, I'm going to knock your face in. You go, I have a protocol for this. Your amygdala takes responsibility for you and runs its own little program, so you don't have to do a conscious program with that. It gets you all going. It might do your fight or flight sympathetic portion of your autonomic nervous system. You might activate that and then releases adrenaline. And if you don't deal with it, then you're stuck with this residual cortisol surge, and it stresses you and shortens your telomeres, and it's heinous. You want to fight. You want to at least say something back and say, oh yeah, you potty face or something. You want to give it back to him. But that's not the only way that people can reduce you. Haven't you ever been reduced, or worse, haven't you ever reduced anybody? By conveying the attitude, that they're just better than you, and you're just better than them. And it's gonna be your way, or they can just, they don't even matter enough to lash out at. When we act like it's up to us how God is, I think we're demonstrating that even if outwardly we play a religious game, inwardly, in our operating system, we're atheists. Okay? We don't really believe in God the way God is even plausibly definable. Because if we believe that there is some intelligence that created the universe, that programs in DNA, that writes the code for quantum mechanics, that architected astrophysics, if we believe that there is anything like that, we're not going to go, you come when I call you. And then you wait right there. I've got some nastiness to take care of here. And I'll get to you. I've given you a day. But the rest is, we don't believe in an entity like that, really. Even if we have joined a club where everybody, in order to be a member and not be criticized, is careful to always say that we believe, but we don't. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you see a difference in what I'm saying between spirituality and religion? Because you can be very religious. In fact, maybe being religious makes you more likely to think that you've got a leash and a collar on Aslan. God will be what we have voted that God may be. We get together every 4 or 5 years at General Conference and we make a vote, and that's how God is. What if God decides, no, I'm not going to do that for you. You voted on it, but you voted different. If you get together and there's something that you really kind of have observed that God is like, but you can't say that at your church, then, and if you have any idea what I'm talking about right now, then you have sort of a gut sense of a major difference between spirituality and religion. Now, does that mean that religion is a bad thing and spirituality is a good thing? Most definitely not. Not at all. The fact that within this box that we call religion, we can get away with that, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with that box that we call religion. It might be that there's something wrong with us or the way we relate to it. But there's no reason, just because you're religious, that you have to have a poor or a faulty spiritual existence too. That's not true. It simply means that it's possible that you have only one category, sort of for that God stuff or for that religious stuff or whatever, the spirituality, God, theology, religion, all that stuff is in a category. Like if I said business, if you're a theology major and I say business and you don't have anything to do with business, someone's a business major, you go, okay, a business major. Good, check that out. But if you're a business major and you ask somebody, what's your major? And they say business, that doesn't tell you all you need to know. If you're a business major and somebody says, well, I'm also a business major, that doesn't mean you're on the same track. Who's a business major here? Okay, you business majors, wouldn't you want to know finance, accounting, management, HR? What else? Am I missing anything?
Marketing.
Yeah. Who said marketing? Not even a business major. A theology major, no less. Boy, did I call that one wrong? The algebra would know. Here he knows the little details, reminding the business makers. When we have a taxonomy, if you're less associated with it, if it's not your business, then when you say, how about this? Badger. Badger. I say, okay, a badger. You can say all kinds of things about that creature, a badger. And badgers are badgers, right? What about the honey badger? Is that like other badgers? Not at all. It's not like honey. It's not like the other badgers. It's actually closer to the weasel family than the rest of the badger family, which are more actually closer to skunks, the others. And man, they have different lifestyles. You know, the honey badger has a total of one potential natural enemy, and that's humans. I mean, they are not afraid of full-grown Aslan-type lions. I doubt they're afraid of God. They are belligerent, and they are intractably aggressive. And when they get their mind on something, you could kill them, but they will die trying to kill you back. They are their own breed. When we talk about all this religion, God, spiritual, church, all that kind of stuff, it means so many things, and if we run them together, we make some huge errors. One of the errors we can make is to think that we can do just anything there. We can allocate just a little attention to something, and then we can cross it off our list and say, I've got that covered. You can go to church, and you can be the kind of person that the people in the church always give you the right, you get an A on your paper at church. Everyone's like, you're the model church boy. You know? You are the God Squad. You have got it. You should be a minister. You know, at least you should be a Bible worker, missionary, or something. You know how to get up in front of people and say an articulate prayer. You know how to pick just the right scripture for the occasion. When it's 5 minutes before sundown, you turn on whatever crap you have. You turn off whatever crap you have on the TV and get sanctimonious and have worship right at that moment. And then, you're even willing to miss 7 minutes of whatever comes on, right before sundown on Saturday evening. And you don't eat things that are not, you've gotten a divorce from cheese, and you're not just vegetarian. You're full on vegan. And then if you find anyone at the church that goes, you don't cook your vegetables, do you? I'm going all raw, Everything has to be, there's nobody that can out-church you. If someone wants you to pass out flyers for you're passing them. You've got the whole thing you want. Now, those are exemplary things to do. I'm not critical of doing those things. But they're really, really cancerous things to do. They're really putrid things to do. They're really malevolent, unloving things to do. When you do them without spiritual health, when you do them without a love relationship, when you do them when you don't really understand why you're doing them and what they're even for. Yes?
What do you mean by spiritual health?
That is a fantastic question. And obviously I'm using a metaphor in there, like health or like good relationship. Any of those things are metaphors. If you were sick, it would mean something was lacking, or it would be out of balance, overabundant, whatever. It would be, do a good job. You get an A on your spiritual report card. Or if you're diseased, you too. You're doing it too, right? You're not going, oh, it's time to go. You're like playing the guitar or something. You what?
Sound.
You're doing sound. Anyone has to get ready to spectate? Anyone's going to be praying silently through the whole thing?
Prayer ministry.
This spiritual stuff really gets in the way of spirituality class. Man, week of prayer, I was praying that wouldn't happen. I hope it goes well. But when we're sick, we could have an infection, right? I mean, one way you could have a spiritual infection, I suppose, to stay with the wellness or disease model, you could have had somebody maybe suggest some ideas to you, and they seem like good ideas, so you let them in. So you have not just some heresy that kind of offends the conservatives at church, but I mean, we got legitimate heresy, yes, it would offend them, and if you had consulted them, they, along with lots of other things, they would have told you that that was wrong. But it's something that doesn't seem that bad, but it ends up being sort of a big abscess in your spiritual life. Like, say another area of your life, you didn't really fully use spiritual principles. You got into a relationship, say, with somebody, and they seem so attractive, and it seems so right, and all the right endocrines line up, you know, all your hormones tell you that this is probably like God's special creation just for you, and you're very attracted to the person and all of that. And then in their relationship, you get into habits and patterns where you're not doing the right thing by each other. You know, whether you're kind of using each other in terms of affection, or you're not loyal, or you're dishonest, or you're obsessive and you demand the other person's time when they need it for their own well-being to not be just giving time to you. They need to be giving time to some other areas of their life. Possessive, jealous, all that stuff. Then that thing which seems so good to you that you let in, because sort of your spiritual immune system didn't adequately identify those things as that has to go. It sort of starts growing an infection, and then it starts taking over other parts of your life. It could be that you have found a spiritual teacher, and you're in relationship. I don't mean that you're mixing romance and that, although that's a huge problem too, but I mean, you've got a person who's your guru, or your pastor, or your Bible worker, the person giving you Bible studies, or teaching you meditation or yoga or whatever. But they're actually, it starts out like a good thing, but then they're giving you stuff that's making you, instead of helping you to be giving and selfless, they're giving you a sort of brand of spirituality that builds the self. And it has been found, I don't mean just it's a matter of religious opinion, it's been found both by religious scholars and by cognitive psychologists, by neuropsychologists. It's been found that when you build your sense of self, when you emphasize more the part of your brain function and structure that gives you this sense of knowing it's me, and it's not him, and it's not her, it's me. It's me. When you're born, you don't know where you stop and start. Your brain doesn't know the difference between your environment and your organism. But as you mature, you figure out the difference, and you realize then with your eyes closed where you are in space and what's you and what's not you. But there's more to it. You start then saying, that's my bike. That's my pillow. It's mine. And then that's my friend. And you can see little kids, it's like with little kid jealousy. They can't conceive of, if they have a friend, that someone else could have that as their friend too. It's mine. So they're having to negotiate all this stuff. Well, some people, as they never stop growing in that way, to have more and more and more distinctions between them and others, and to be more self-promoting. And some people market a brand of spirituality where the goal is not to be sort of blending with other people and becoming more giving, but to work on self-esteem, to work on self-aggrandizement, to work on I'm working on myself. I'm having some me time. And they do that under the banner of spirituality. And in point of fact, it's contra-spiritual. When people have spiritually transcendent experiences or practices, like they pray a lot. And I don't mean we say a week of prayer, that means we're going to talk about religious things more days this week than most weeks. I mean, they're really praying. Or they're meditating. Or they're doing the Mother Teresa thing where it's a spiritual discipline for them to go and minister to others when they're the hardest to minister to. It actually dampens the processes in a special part of your right lower parietal lobe in your brain. It actually becomes less active. It atrophies the part of us that's that very part that the children, when they're little tiny, are trying to build up. So you know the difference between you, because we overgrow it. In fact, if you find a person who's just plain a saint, if you find a person, then and if you could think about people you've known maybe in your congregation, you think, who do you really think, if Jesus was here, would most resemble, this person would resemble Jesus the most? If you check that person's brain function in an fMRI or a PET scan, they would demonstrate less activity in that portion of the brain. When somebody tells you that it is a spiritual thing to go have me time and to build up me and to learn this assertiveness stuff where you learn sort of arrogant little man or woman of the world ways of just saying, no, that's not good for me. That's not good for me. That's not good for me. Therapists will do this to you. Spirituality books will do this for you. It will make you spiritually sick because you become less happy. Because we've also found that happiness, that joy, that a sense of peace and satisfaction in this life is associated with people who transcend the self-construct the most. That feel like when I see you, it's really not that different to me in terms of my priority and my feelings as when I see myself in the mirror. So if I see you having a problem, it's just as important to me, and I'm just as eager to help as if I'm having the problem. Now, to you, when you meet a person, whether it doesn't have to be me, if that's the way he is, if you meet him and it's like, you get a sense that when you're having a problem or you're having a joy, he's like, if it's joy, this guy is so happy. Or if you're having a problem, you can just see that he's right with you and he wants to help you solve it. He's there for you. And he's really authentically there for you. That would indicate a certain aspect of spiritual development. So when you're spiritually sick, if you have a spiritual sickness, it would be like your immune system, your spiritual immune system, didn't weigh that out as being bad for you. It took it in and it provided it nourishment till it could grow and make you sick. That's only one example, though. There's lots of ways to do it. I will probably test you. If you don't buy it, I'll put it on the quiz anyway, probably, or the test in some form. This whole concept that I'm going to say right now is a huge testable. Don't dismiss yet. We've got 10 minutes.
It's over now.
Oh, what time is it?
9:30.
9:30 it's over. That's why you're dismissing. I got to get a copy of this schedule. Yeah, you should do that. Oh, well, okay then.
Class started at 8:50.
just let out early. Okay. Have a wonderful week of prayer.